Yesterday, a very popular YouTuber named CoryxKenshin posted an absolute bombshell of a video accusing YouTube of some awful things and explained the whole situation that led to the claims, and he does not hold back. The gloves were off and the chef's hat was on because he just started cooking their ass. Now, of course, it's not unusual for a YouTuber to make a video criticizing the platform. It happens every day because YouTube is a company that very, very rarely gets anything right, so it's constantly catching more shit than a Walmart toilet, and rightfully so. But even with hourly uploads of everything wrong with YouTube, the problems that CoryxKenshin highlights are some that I haven't ever really even seen discussed before. The video's titled YouTube Racism and Favoritism, and it was actually the #1 trending video all day yesterday, and right now it's the #2, which means this is the front page of YouTube. This is the #1 video on YouTube, so I bet they're thrilled about that. CoryxKenshin has over 14 million subscribers, so this is a video that carries a lot of weight.
You guys either play favorites, you are racist, or it's a mix of the two. These are the three options, YouTube.
It's a pretty aggressive intro, but he is rightfully upset about unfair treatment he's been experiencing. So, after going through what he's gone through, he believes that there's only really 3 possible conclusions to draw from it, where it's either YouTube policy team playing favorites, members of the policy team being racist, or some combination of the two. Now, before getting into the specifics of the situation, I'd like to say I think most people have been aware of favoritism on YouTube for quite a while. You know, it's not exactly like the Krabby Patty secret formula. It's not hush hush. I think everyone has recognized that there is some level of favoritism on the platform. I mean, there's even that viral video from a few years ago where the CEO of YouTube said to Juice WRLD that they need to pump his numbers up, which indicates artificial growth. It means that they have at least some capability of boosting channels, whether that's through the algorithm and pushing it to more people, or just inflating it themselves for channels they deem worthwhile and good for business. And the inverse is likely true, where they can hide channels they think are problematic and bad for business. So favoritism is something that people have been loosely aware of for a long time. And also when it comes to, mainstream media sources, like late night show hosts have much more leeway than an average YouTuber. They can say and do a lot of things that get normal YouTubers demonetized or age restricted or straight up striked. And that doesn't apply to the big boys in the scene. So favoritism is something I think most people know exists on YouTube. That's not like a conspiracy theory. However, the claims that Cory is about to make against the YouTube policy team in regards to racism are pretty interesting.
August 18th, I uploaded The Mortuary Assistant. A lot of you would know it got age restricted. I saw that all these other YouTubers were playing The Mortuary Assistant and only my video seemed to be age restricted. So I appealed the restriction. Hey guys, I'm not sure why mine got age restricted. Could you look into this? Appeal rejected.
This isn't the whole situation, it's just the beginning. I already want to talk about something in particular though, the appeal system. Cory mentions that after appealing, he was denied, rejected pretty quickly. That's the norm. I can count on one hand the amount of times I've ever even heard about an appeal being overturned. That just never happens. The only time an appeal doesn't lead to rejection is when you make a trending hashtag about it on Twitter. You make a big hoopla on Twitter and then YouTube will go to your appeal and, make it in your favor. But if you don't do that, if you don't stir up a shitstorm and start throwing sand in YouTube's face on Twitter, they won't bother. I'm very confident that there is no human being in the review process for appeals. In fact, I would wager my anal virginity that there is no human being that looks at appeals. And if I'm wrong, then I fully invite the YouTube policy head to come raw dog me. I am so fucking confident that there is no human being that looks at those appeals because they always, almost always, end in rejection and standing with the initial decision, even when it's blatantly wrong. The algorithm makes mistakes. But the appeal is supposed to bring a human being into the equation to look at it, investigate the case, and decide whether or not it was an algorithmic error or a correct enforcement. And there are times where it was just outright incorrect, just outright wrong, and they will still stand with that decision. So I just don't think the appeal system works. That needs a drastic overhaul ASAP.
Only my video got age restricted. My YouTube rep, who isn't on the policy team, he looked at my video and he said, hey, it could possibly be this part at the end about it. So I looked at that part. The first thing I did was try to find other YouTubers who had that part, or at least a part similar. So I go to Markiplier's Mortuary Assistant Part 3, and he had the same situation going on, and his video wasn't age restricted.
Cory explains that after the appeal was rejected, he talked to his YouTube rep who speculated as to why they decided to enforce the age restriction, and he highlighted a potential problem with the ending of the game that was in his video. So Cory then went to other videos to try and find that exact same part, and he found it in one of Markiplier's videos, which wasn't age restricted yet had the exact same content that Cory's did. So he was left confused. Why is Markiplier's video okay, but his isn't? Now I want to immediately squash the argument I know a few people will make that CoryxKenshin might not be as advertiser friendly as Markiplier, which is why Markiplier is being favored by YouTube here. That just doesn't work, because Markiplier still says bad words. He'll say fuck and shit and damn, you know, he'll squeeze in some naughty words. CoryxKenshin is squeaky clean. He doesn't say any naughty words. He even censors bad words in the games that he plays in the videos. He is the more advertiser-friendly creator. So it's not just YouTube playing favorites for whoever's more advertiser and brand friendly. It's not the case, because if it was, Cory would be the winner there. So it definitely has to be something else at play for why they demonetized Cory and not Mark. Now, if you've been around my channel for a while, you might remember I went through an almost identical situation a couple years ago. I made a video on a fake road rage incident and got an entire strike for it from YouTube, a policy guideline strike from YouTube for it. And I found that exact same clip that I was talking about in one of Markiplier's videos that wasn't age restricted, demonetized, or anything. I was so angry. I was wiggling in rage. I was so upset I couldn't sit still in my chair, so I made this video talking about it, and then I made a big stink on Twitter. And Markiplier actually came to my rescue, like a fucking hero of justice, a symbol, like Batman. He came in and said, fair is fair, where is my strike, YouTube? And YouTube responded, not by getting rid of my strike, but by striking Markiplier's video as well. So now both of us ended up with a strike, and Markiplier made a video talking about that, and eventually YouTube decided to rescind both strikes, saying that it was an overreaction to things and it was a mistake on their part. But obviously you can see the problem here. They're not enforcing their rules equally across the platform, and they're just not enforcing them properly at all. There was no reason that video should have ever resulted in a strike by any stretch of imagination. I can understand the algorithm having a bit of a oopsie, a little boo-boo there, and mistaking a fake comical road rage for a real incident, but the appeal process is supposed to come in there where a human being looks at it and within 3 seconds should be like, oh, this is clearly a joke. But that never happened because I don't believe humans actually review the content. I'm getting sidetracked. Point is, the rules aren't enforced appropriately or equally. So a kind of similar situation, but not exactly the same as what Cory's been going through with YouTube here. However, I do find it interesting that Markiplier is present in both of these cases. I feel so bad for Markiplier. He's done nothing wrong. He just keeps getting dragged into these disputes here with YouTube.
So I send a video to my YouTube rep. I say, hey, Markiplier has this situation in his video, but his isn't age restricted. Could you send that to the policy team and see what they say about that? They came back and they removed my age restriction. They took it off. After they already rejected my appeal. I expected them to triple down and give Markiplier an age restriction too. But they looked at Mark's video and they used that to verify my innocence.
After being confronted with evidence, the policy team folds and gets rid of the age restriction on Cory's video, but he decides to press forward by trying to get an explanation for why it was okay for Markiplier and not okay for him. Why isn't it the same ruling, and why is it only now, after being confronted, that they decide to get rid of the age restriction after already denying his appeal?
So I send my YouTube rep a lengthy email detailing my feelings about the entire situation. So my YouTube rep assures me he's going to continue this dialogue with the policy team. So another day, another 2 days go by, and what do you know? They re-age restricted the video. They re-age restricted the video. I say, no way did they do that. I go to Markiplier's video now, and now his video is age restricted.
Yeah, it's pure pandemonium and chaos at the YouTube policy headquarters now. They re-age restricted Cory's video and then slapped Markiplier with an age restriction as well. So they panicked, clearly. After being confronted and after Cory's email, as well as the phone call he had with the YouTube rep, they obviously caught wind of what was happening. CoryxKenshin was wondering why he was being unfairly treated by the YouTube policy team. No one else got age restrictions, it was just him. So he pressed further, pressed harder, and the policy team reacted by bringing back the age restriction to him and Markiplier. So it's like, hey, no, look, everything's good now. Now everything's even, right? We enforce this equally across the creators, so we're good here, right? No, obviously. Cory is rightfully upset. He was treated unfairly. And since YouTube is so unbelievably shit at giving clear answers to anything, Cory can only speculate as to what happened here. And he draws the potential conclusion that maybe someone or some members of the YouTube policy team are racist. Maybe they targeted Cory because of the color of his skin. And it's not a far-fetched thing to think either. In fact, Ludwig, when he interviewed Susan, and Ludwig also made a mogul mail talking about this exact video I'm talking about and brought up some great points, the strongest one being is there are human beings on that policy team, and there are sometimes biases with members of those teams. You know, they're human beings, and some of them are going to have biases. And there is the potential that someone there is sexist or racist. And Ludwig brings up good points about that. For example, his girlfriend's podcast gets demonetized way more than his does. And so he brings that up. Susan, the CEO, denies that it's a possibility, but it is a real possibility. And Cory is absolutely right in thinking that it could be a real possibility that someone on that policy team that has the decision-making power might be racist. Why was Cory the only one getting age restricted? And Cory also brings up another great point, which is every time Cory comes back, Cory takes hiatuses in between his content creation. Sometimes he'll be gone for like 4 or 5 months. And he'll come back and explode. He'll get #1 trending like every single day for 3 weeks straight. And then every time, like clockwork, he's hit with some kind of YouTube controversy. Last time it was getting a strike due to something from like a 4-year-old video, a 3-year-old video or something like that out of nowhere. And it's only when Cory comes back and starts getting popular again do they do something like this with age restriction or a strike or something like that. But in the breaks he takes, like the 5 months, the 9 months that he's not on YouTube, he never has problems. They don't strike anything. They don't, age restrict anything. It's only when he's back being popular that this kind of issue arises. And it's always over nothing. Like I said, Cory is probably one of the most advertiser brand-friendly content creators there is in the gaming space. He doesn't say bad words or anything bad. He even censors that kind of shit in the content of his video, like from the games he plays. So he goes the extra mile to be as brand-friendly and advertiser-friendly and family-friendly as you can be. So it can't be an issue of him just being, too hardcore for YouTube to support. That's just not the case. It has to be something else. Something maybe going wrong with the algorithm or potentially actual racism at the YouTube policy team. It's not impossible. Of course, there's no concrete evidence that there's any racists on the policy team, but since YouTube can't communicate these decisions, all you can do is guess as to the reason why things happen. Why was Cory the only one getting age restricted? We don't know. His YouTube representative doesn't fully know. The only ones that do are the policy team, and they don't communicate. So all you can do is take your best guess. So yeah, I just wanted to talk about this situation, and that's about it. So yeah.